Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV. Paul Alster here with you as I look ahead now to Saturday the 15th of January, where there's plenty of action going on across Britain and Ireland. And I'll be looking for big value, big odds runners with three selections for you coming up this weekend. If you're joining us for the first time, then please press the subscribe button just below the screen and you'll be able to stay with us for all bulletins as we start the build-up towards the Cheltenham Festival. And we're hoping that this year's Cheltenham, and of course the weeks leading up to it, will be as profitable as they were back in 2021. Now, I don't need to tell you that the last few months have been really challenging on the tipping front. From the point of view of my each-way big odds selections, it's been a really tough time. I hate tipping losers. One, because I don't like tipping horses that don't run well, and two, because I back them as well. So there's plenty of reasons to want to do as well as possible on these services. But as we know, that is the way it goes with the ups and downs. And we do look at things in the round over the season and over the year. And every season and every year so far, it has been profitable and very profitable, to say the least. So last weekend, there were four selections. Only one of them really ran well. That was Mr. Scrumpy, who was placed at Newcastle. The other three sunk variously in the mud in different parts of the country. One thing I would say, just before I come to this weekend's three, and this is a point picked up in the Racing Post and highlighted actually by my good friend, the trainer George Baker, in Thursday's Racing Post, the field sizes are really, really disappointing. They continue to disappoint both in the National Hunt sphere in Britain, but not in Ireland, and on the all-weather tracks as well, where the number of runners is disappointing. And it's because, certainly on the all-weather, the prize money is really dire for the most part. But there doesn't appear to be any obvious reason why we're not having more runners over jumps, especially at this time of year. It's proper winter ground, you know what's coming. But looking at the weekend's racing this weekend, there weren't that many races where there were enough runners to justify putting the time in to try and come up with each way selections. So it really does narrow the field. It's not good for punters. It's not good for racing as a whole. I hope the situation is going to be addressed because, as George says, many of his owners, you know, they're trying to win a race for £2,500, £3,000 first prize for a horse that probably costs them, you know, 20,000, 25,000 plus a year to keep in training, where they can go to some of the winter racing in Dubai or Bahrain and run in a handicap that's pretty ordinary-ish for 50,000 quid. So as well as that, go across the channel to France. So British racing has to really look at itself and decide if they want to maintain their position as one of the best in the world, because they're just not getting enough runners to make betting on some of the races a really interesting proposition. Happily, that isn't going to be the case at the big festival meetings. I'm going to take a break after this week's bulletin. I'm going away for a couple of weeks. I'll be back after this bulletin on the Friday, the 4th of February, and that will be looking at the Leopardstown Festival, which is the last really big trial festival before Cheltenham, and we'll learn a great deal during that weekend. But I'm going to move on now, and we'll take you straight to the first of my trio, which is at Kempton. The 240 race is a historic race, the Lanzarote Handicap Hurdle. It's over 2 miles and 5 furlongs, 20 runners, big prize money here. So on this occasion, they've got the maximum field. Soft ground, so the 2 miles 5 will take some getting. And plenty of firms are betting each way, 6 places, even the likes of Sky Bet are going 7, I believe. Now, this is a race that has been won 3 times in the last 9 years by Nicky Henderson. And he runs 3 this time, including the 2018 winner, William Henry, who's now a 12-year-old, but still has ability. He also won the race in 2020 with Burrows Edge. Now, as well as William Henry, Nicky Henderson runs 2 in the Simon Munir Isaac Suer double green colours. And they are the top weight, Call Me Lord, who's classy. And also Monte Cristo, who I was very interested in and did give him a serious coat of looking at because he's quite capable of running well off his current mark at big odds. So those are Nicky's runners. He's got here Marie's Rock, which I think is an interesting one here. 6-1 favourite, Marie's Rock. Very impressive course and distance last time out on Boxing Day. It has gone up £9. And this is a more competitive race, but it did do it well. Now, another trainer that's done well in the race, unsurprisingly, is the champion, Paul Nicholls. He's won 2 of the last 8 renewals. And interestingly, he only has the one runner here, Galino Bello, who was second in a Grade 2 novices hurdle over 3 miles at Cheltenham last time. He shouldn't lack for stamina and won't be far away. Chris Gordon, who does well with his handicappers, runs 3. Evan Williams has got 2. Venetia Williams has got one who has got a Chance Green Book, and Philip Hobbs has Earth Lord. Harry Fry has On My Command. Each of the last 3 named, they're on hat-trick missions, so the horses coming into the race in red-hot form. And there are a lot of hot form lines in this race. Nothing can be ruled out. And on that basis, I'm going for one at a very big price here. And you have to recall as well, this race was won last year by 66 to 1 shot Boreham Bill. So it is not beyond the bounds of possibility we could get another big price winner. And my choice comes from the north, trained at Middleham by Mickey Hammond at the mount of Emma Smith Chaston. And the horse is called Foster's Island. Emma's going to claim £7 on this horse, on whom she struck up a really, really good partnership in recent months. Now, this is a really interesting runner. It showed nothing really over hurdles. In 2020, it looked a very, very ordinary horse, to say the least. And then early on in 2021, in February last year, it won a handicap at Carlisle by about 20 lengths, all of a sudden, winning off a mark of 89. It then went on to win a further 4 times in 2021, placing twice, only once out of the money. And it's actually won its last 3, all with Emma on board. And this horse in total has improved a huge amount, £34. That's nearly 2.5 stone in just about 10 months. Now, that's a great credit to the horse, but also a great credit to the trainer, Mickey Hammond. 1, for placing the horse so well, and 2, for keeping it sweet and able to maintain such good form and keep improving almost every outing. And in fact, last time out, it led going to the last. I think that was at Newcastle, at Ayr rather. Then it made quite a bad mistake, and it looked beaten before battling back to force a dead heat. So here's a horse who, despite going up the handicap and going up the grades, loves its racing, has got a really good attitude. This, of course, is a much stiffer test. It's going from winning a Grade 3, a Class 3 rather, to a Class 1. But I think this horse still may have more to give. And with Emma claiming £7 and having ridden it so well on the last 3 occasions, and with Mickey Hammond's horses going particularly well at the moment, he's got a 21% strike rate in the last fortnight. Now, that doesn't tell even half the story because of his 5 winners during the period. Just listen to the odds of 4 of them that have won. 40 to 1 winner, a 16 to 1 winner, 25 to 1, and then just the other day, 66 to 1 winner as well at Catterick. Clearly his horses are running way above previous form, and the bookmakers just aren't cottoning on that. The Hammond horses are really on the top of their game. And because of that, I believe this horse is overpriced regardless of how he runs. But I think he's going to run well. And with 6 places on offer, with the likes of William Hill, Paddy Power, Bet Victor and Betfair at the time of this recording on Friday lunchtime, odds of 40 to 1 are available about Foster's Island. I don't think they'd be making the trip all the way down south with the one horse if they didn't think it was going to run well. I think the yard are running 4 or 5 more close to home at Wetherby. So they obviously feel this horse is worth taking down to Kempton. And Foster's Island is my choice each way for 6 places at 40 to 1 in the Lanzarote hurdle at Kempton, Saturday at 2:40. Now, my second selection, soon after that one, is at Warwick at 3 o'clock in the really stamina-sapping 3 mile 5 furlong classic chase at Warwick. The 3 o'clock race, soft ground, there are 15 runners, and each way place terms are quite favourable, especially if you shop around and use your odds comparison sites to try and see where the best value can be had. Now, this race has developed into something of a Grand National trial, and a trial for other big staying races. And of course, it was won in 2017 by subsequent entry hero One for Arthur. And it's a race that has produced some good winners over the last decade. Last year, it was won by Not a Chance, trained by Alan King. And that horse is back to try and follow up here, having run poorly on its first 2 starts this season and then shown signs of a definite revival. The last time out went 6 just before Christmas at Haydock, running well for a long way. Now, the 4-1 favourite at the time of this recording is David Pipes, Jericho Rouge, who was second at Newbury in the Mandarin handicap chase over 3¼ miles. And that's a good race. The Mandarin's always good. He's gone up £6. This is only his 4th chase start and he is unexposed. Now, Lucinda Russell, who I mentioned having won this race with One for Arthur 5 years ago, has got Corach Rambler, who's a horse in great form after wins at Aintree and Cheltenham in novice handicap chases. He's gone up £15. And Lucinda and Peter Scudamore's horses are going really well at the moment. He does have that big rise in weight and he's taking on non-novices for the most part here. So it is a different task, but he's not out of the reckoning. And then you've got the likes of Achille for Benicia Williams, who finished 4th in the Welsh National last time out. That surely would have been a race that took a lot out of the horse. It was actually 2nd in this race last year, beaten just half a length by Not a Chance. So coming back for more. And the 3rd horse from the Welsh National, that's Emma Lavelle's Eclair Surf, also runs. And because it finished 3rd but was beaten 35 lengths or something, it's actually been dropped £1. But again, only 5, I think, finished at Chepstow. It was a grueling race. I wouldn't be keen on rushing to back anything that ran in that race just a few weeks after. So my choice here is a horse that is another unexposed sort. This is a horse trained by Paul Nicholls and the Mount of Bryony Frost, and it is the ex-French train, the Grâce à ENKI. Now, this horse has only just turned 6 years old a couple of weeks ago. Ex-French, as I say, but like so many of the French racehorses, they mature very early. This horse has never had a run over fences in Britain, which is another key point that I'll come to. He was a very, very promising 4-year-old chaser in France. They do start them off very early in France. It's amazing how early they come to hand for chasing over there. He won at Auteuil, which of course is France's premier jumps track. He won in heavy ground in October of 2020, pulling well clear, winning by a wide margin. And then he went on at Auteuil, 2 starts after that to finish 3rd in a grade 3 there in November of 2020, what was a red hot race. Now, he joined Paul Nicholls sometime after that. He was bought for €125,000, which is a lot for a gelding, by current connections. He got a very, very long break. And then his first start for the yard was when second beaten 3/4 of a length in a Worcester novices hurdle over 2 miles 7 furlongs this autumn. He then went on to finish 5th at Cheltenham in a 3-mile novices hurdle in which he stayed on. And then he was in front and going strongly at Hereford on his way to victory, 3¼ mile novice hurdle when he fell 3 out last time out. It looks really, having watched 1 or 2 of his races, if he doesn't really pay enough respect to his hurdles, but he clearly can jump, and he jumped very well in France. Now, this is a horse who could have been found much easier opportunity for his first run in Britain over fences. One thing I should point out is that he is a half-brother to Yala ENKI, who of course was a tremendous staying handicap chaser for Paul Nicholls. And I think they know a lot about this horse going over fences even before they run him in a race itself. And I was interested, looking back in the archive, to a March interview from last year where Paul Nicholls actually was talking about Grâce à ENKI in the same sort of breath as Brave Man's Game and such. So I think this really has to be a horse that has a huge amount of potential. Now, he's going in here off a very workable handicap mark. And if he can reproduce any of his French form, I think he will be quite well in here. And at the time of recording, he's offered at 14-1, and that's each way for 5 places with Sky Bet and with Paddy Power. So a 6-year-old horse taking on older horses, a horse who is unexposed, but had very smart chase form in France. Grâce à ENKI is my choice at Warwick in the 3 o'clock. And then on to the third and final race. And this is at Saturday at Kempton Park 3:15, a 3-mile handicap chase, just the 8 runners. So we've just about got enough here for a proper each-way bet. Now, this is a bit of a strange race, I have to say, because it's a 3-mile handicap chase, many of them horses that are very familiar, but for a £25,000 race, quite a lot of them are coming into this race in poor form. Indeed, 5 of the 8 failed to finish last time out, 4 of them pulling up. And one of the joint favourites here, Caribbean Boy, he fell at the first at Ascot last time out, which can happen to any horse, just one of those blips. He'd previously run well in the Paddy Power Gold Cup at Cheltenham in the mid-division. And he is a classy horse. He has top weight, but he's got top weight, which still is a favourable handicap mark for him because this is a drop in class. So Caribbean Boy is interesting. Smarty Wild is one of the few coming into the race in some sort of form. He was third a couple of times of late, including at Ludlow 24 days ago, but he's never won beyond 2.5 miles. And in soft ground, I think that is a concern. Now, I know a lot of people say about Kempton, well, it's an easy 3 miles. That's because it's fairly flat. But the fact is, and you would have noticed this, I'm sure, if you were watching the Christmas coverage at Kempton, the horses often finish very, very tired there because it's flat and they go a pretty strong gallop all the way. You don't always get a chance to get a breather into them. So while there are the undulations and such, I think it still is in its way testing because there is a pretty much relentless pace in so many of the races. And that's a thing that could find out a potential non-stayer. One who will stay is Kitty's Light, Christian Williams' horse, who had run a couple of poor races at the start of this season, but was a fair fourth at Christmas over course and distance and has been dropped £4. My feeling just is that Kitty's Light may need a bit further, and their stamina really does come further into play here if they go a cracking gallop. And of course, I think that's probably better in the spring. You can't rule out any of them in this race, including the forecast outsider Matt Totty, who I gave a serious consideration to. It's only 12-1, the outsider of 8, and you can ignore its latest run. It pulled up in that pudding of a Welsh national and was pulled up after only going 2.5 miles. So they probably didn't get to the bottom of the horse there. My choice, though, and this I think is a really interesting horse. It's called A Trois Fils, trained by Gary Moore down there in the south, and Jamie Moore, his son, is on board. Now, this is a horse who's not getting any younger. He turned 12 years old a few weeks ago, but he's a horse with great experience and a lot of talent. He has been a really talented horse. He's won 9 races of his 43, placed many times as well. He won a Grade 2 novice hurdle in Ireland for Willie Mullins. He's won 2 Grade 2s and a Grade 3 chase for Gordon Elliott during his time in Ireland as well. And he also took on lots of really high-class Irish chasers. Now, he joined Gary Moore a couple of years ago, but he's obviously had his training difficulties, and he's only had the 3 runs in those 2 years. But interestingly, Moore has kept the faith, and connections have kept paying the bills and kept him in training. Now, he's had 3 runs during that time, but as an indication of just how the ability does appear to still be there. The first of them was when 4th to Native River, only beaten about 10 lengths in the Grade 2 Denman chase in February of 2020. Very, very smart form. Then he was 4th to none other than Smarty Wild in a handicap chase over 2.5 miles here at Kempton in January of last year. And then after 11 months off, he ran recently at Cheltenham, and they switched him to a handicap hurdle, first run of the season, very long absence. He was 10th of 16 there. That was on New Year's Day. Now, the interesting thing about this point here is that he was always towards the rear of the field. And I'm not saying he wasn't off or anything like that. You know, the horse hadn't run for a long time. He had plenty of cobwebs, I'm sure, to blow away. And he was outpaced once they really quit them 3 out. And he was left behind. But then if you run the video of the race through, when he's finishing back there in 10th, he actually is really starting to motor in the closing stages. He's just got going, probably got a second win. And I think that will have put him absolutely spot on. It was just a pipe opener, let's put it that way. He's not a hurdler. He's a chaser, and he's back here over fences in a race where there are loads of horses with question marks. He's now down to a rating of just 130, which when you take into account he was fourth to Native River, just 3 runs back of 142. And then the other factor, and that is that I've noted that since odds went up late on Thursday evening, there's been a steady stream of support for the horse. And the Gary Moore stable are shrewd. They don't mind having a bet as well. No secret. And he's been nibbled at. He was 12 to 1 early. That went, then 11s, then 10s, then 9s. He's now 17 to 2 at the time of this recording with Paddy Power and Betfair and William Hill. And I think each way for 3 places. That'll do for Atois Phil, who back over fences and off a very tempting mark, can roll back the years here and put in a big performance for a yard that can really get them ready when the money's down. So Atois Phil, Kempton, 3:15 is my third and final selection for this weekend. As always, let's hope they run well. It'd be nice to go into this short break that I'll be taking with some good performances from these 3 selections. But regardless of how they run, after the break and having pressed the restart button and coming back refreshed, I'll look forward to seeing you on the 4th of February, when I'll be looking forward in particular to the big festival over there in Ireland. That is sure to be an absolute treat. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, here at Sportsbet, it's goodbye. Enjoy your racing this weekend. Bye for now.